Welcome to Uncommon Wealth. I've been looking forward to this one because you've built the Learning Leader Show into a global platform. As you and I were just talking about, you're sitting on 700 plus conversations with world-class leaders, and you have a new book coming out. The Price of Becoming, right, is due out on July 21st. Is that right?
That's right.
So I don't want to do a shallow leadership episode here. I want to talk about what happens when success compounds, identity hardens, and the real questions become whether what you've built can outlast your energy, your role, and even your presence. So let's start here. Ryan, when you compare the Ryan Hawk who launched the show in 2015 to the Ryan Hawk who now has nearly 700 conversations, what do you see now that you simply couldn't see then?
Probably just more reasonable, less judgmental, more realize I was probably the world as a black and white type of a person 11 years ago, but at least much more then than I am now. I think it helps you open up your eyes and gives you good perspective when you speak with people from a wide variety of socioeconomic backgrounds, different parts of the world, different upbringings, different amounts of luck, different work ethics, different life experiences. It's just really, really healthy and probably good for any and everybody to have conversations with a wide array of people and go into them with an open mind and trying to chase down your curiosity and obsessions with great rigor. And that's what I try to do. And I think the more I've done it, the more I realize that I don't really know very much. I've learned a lot, and I think that's the bizarre thing about learning so much is that you realize there's way, way, way more out there to learn, and I feel like I'm hardly even scratching the surface. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm super grateful for it. It's cool that I get to do my life's work. I realize not everybody gets to do that for a living. And so I try to make the most of it and be grateful for that and work really, really hard at it and be prepared. And hopefully it adds value to other people's lives because ultimately, like, that's the only way I get to keep doing it. So, yeah, I'd say just the TLDR would be just more reasonable, less black and white, more gray, and also realizing that people are incredibly messy and we're all just trying to figure it out as we go.
No doubt, man. I find that in my practice as well. There's an external image that people portray, but when you get inside of that, everyone's dealing with something. There's issues that they're processing, things going on in their life at that particular moment in time. And it's just very interesting how there's an external facade versus an internal facade. What belief did you have or have you had to revise because in your conversations with these 700 plus people, reality just kept disagreeing with what you thought was true?
Probably around my vision of what a leader looks and sounds like. I think when I envision a leader, or when I used to envision a leader years ago, more than a decade ago, it was the loudest person in the room, the stand on the table, look at me type of a person. I've had bosses like that. I've had coaches like that. I've worked with people like that. And the more and more I learn from great leaders is frequently they're quiet, very thoughtful, very reflective, very, very curious, great listeners. Certainly not the loudest person in the room, but probably the best at asking questions and chasing down their curiosity really hard. I think that's the thing that's been surprising to me because that's not how I would have defined a leader probably going into this. And now it seems like the best ones are really good at that. Now they come in all shapes and sizes and introverts, extroverts, all of that across the board. But yeah, I would say I was pretty kind of singular focused that the leader or that role has to be really loud, has to speak up a lot, has to stand on the table and, shout their vision to the world. And there are times when I think you do need to do that. But I also have seen great leadership for being quiet and thoughtful and listening and asking questions. And so again, I this is an aspirational thing for me. I'm trying to take the best of what I've learned from others and implement it into my life on my team and with what we do. And hopefully, we kind of keep getting better as we go.
Your upcoming book is framed as the compounding practices of high performance, drawn from your 700 plus conversations with people like Jim Collins, Kat Cole, Simon Sinek, Tony Robbins. What is the price of becoming that ambitious people still underestimate?
I think most people just quit way too early. They're not willing to be consistent and show up and do it every day. If you like the stories within the book, all the research that I found of the stories that kind of bring the price of becoming to life are really about people who are willing to get up and do it day after day after day. They're stacking days for a very long period of time. And I think it's like, I get asked the question at the end of keynotes, that's a version of this. And everyone is so let down when I give them the answer, or when I share at least my perspective. It's not the answer. It's the answer that I think is accurate for me, at least, and from the people I've been around. It's the willingness to get up and consistently do it and stack days. If it really stemmed, the title and subtitle stemmed from the fact that I've studied Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger for many, many years. And why have they done well? Well, they understand the power of compounding and not interrupting it. And so in their case, it's for businesses and for money. In my case, I tried to use that portable lesson for your life, and try to do it myself, and have studied the Paul Rabel's 100 shots a day, or study Morgan Freeman getting up and staying after it for many decades before anyone had ever heard of him, or the Beatles being a cover band before actually having the guts to play their own music, and the repetition they got prior to actually playing their own music is wild to me. If those guys are too scared, it kind of opens up the world for all of us. But yeah, I'm scared. I'm just going to keep going. And so I think the price is the willingness to keep after it in the unsexy terms like consistency and reliability and dependability, and being that person day after day, I think gives you a really, really good shot of leaving a positive dent in the world. And the problem is most people just are not willing to do that. They're willing to start, they're willing to do it hard for a little bit, but then they don't get the rewards they want immediately, and so they quit. And so my challenge to people is to keep going.
Bro, when you say stuff like that, my mind goes to two places simultaneously. You know, I'm a former athlete, soccer player, which you and I were talking about a little bit. So I think about the work that the great athletes put in behind the scenes when no one's watching them. You know, how many free throws Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant would take, how many 3-pointers, you know, the monotonous work, not the non-sexy work, right? And then I call myself a recovering financial advisor, and I think about the law of compounding interest. And, you know, one of the metaphors or analogies that's been used time after time is if you take a penny on, you know, the first of the month, and it doubled on the second day to 2 pennies, and then it doubled to 4 pennies, and then it doubled to 8 and 16. You know, by the end of the month, you have a very large sum of money if you kept compounding it for 31 days, right? And a lot of people want the upside of compounding, the benefits of compounding, but very few people seem to want the monotony that makes compounding possible. Why is that?
Well, we lack patience. It's hard. We struggle with delayed gratification. It's actually the opposite of what's happening currently in the world. Everything is now available immediately. Phones, social, streaming services. I mean, you can get food immediately. You can get a date almost immediately. You can get a ride immediately. Everything is available right now. Like everything. You can get likes on social media immediately. Everything is right here, right now, and we can get it. And we've all had taste of that. It's right there for us. We felt it. And so in a world where the immediate satisfaction, the dopamine hits are there constantly, even just hearing the ping of somebody texting you back, it hits the reward system in your brain. We're constantly flooded with being rewarded right now. And so there's never been a time, probably, I don't know if this is too grandiose of a statement, but there's probably never been a time where it's harder to appreciate the power of delayed gratification. More now than ever, but that's what it takes. I mean, that was a secondary title for this book. There's already a book called this, but it was going to be called like "It Takes What It Takes." To me, what does it take? It takes the willingness and the ability and the skill and the desire to keep going. And it's the problem, and John, why I think this book's not for everybody is people do not like that answer. That's not the answer they want. I told you this comes up at the end of keynotes all the time. And the look on people's faces, they start looking at their phone or turning around or wanting to leave, right? That's not out. The answer. Nobody wants that answer. But in my experience, you mentioned 700 conversations, a decade plus of talking to the people who are leaving a positive dent in the world. It's what they do. And so it's what I'm trying to do too. And it's not as sexy, but very, very effective if you're willing to do it.
And did that mentality shift with the advent or the acceleration of technology, do you think?
Yes. I mean, I just think it made it even harder to do it because we have so many experiences on a daily basis of getting immediate gratification. So to delay it's even harder when you feel the immediate gratification all the time. And so, yeah, I think it's, again, though, that I view that as our edge. That's our shot, like the advantage us. Like that's a good opportunity for those who are willing to do it because so few people are. And so whatever it is you're trying to do in any profession, if I think you're willing to pay that, like the price of becoming and having a always becoming, never arrived mindset, again, I like your chances over the long term of accomplishing whatever it is that you set out to accomplish. And so again, that's what I'm trying to implement in my own life.
Yeah, and the clients that I've worked with that have achieved uber success, both financially and in their life, they never feel like they've arrived, as you said. And I was having this discussion with somebody else the other day, and he was talking about, and it was just a friendly conversation, and he was talking about, I want a number. I want a number of my liquid net worth. And I said, bro, you're never going to hit that number, right? Because what you think you want in a liquid number, you achieve it, and then you've already set a different goal and then a different goal. And it's this constant pursuit of perfection or success or attainment that, as how entrepreneurs and business owners are wired, I don't think there's ever, yes, I made it, I'm here, right? And I also think about what you said on that compound conversation. That's why there's so many obese people in our country right now, right? To that instant gratification. They're not willing to do the layering of the daily work that needs to get done, whether it's eating less, moving more, whatever, right? Because it takes time to change your body, right? And to see those results. And that instant gratification is the biggest enemy of that, man. So you're exactly right. And I have two young daughters, 15 and 13 right now. And they love volleyball and they want to play volleyball, but it's a struggle to get them to do the basic work that they need to do to get good at volleyball. All they want to do is jump up and spike the ball, right? And do all the glorious stuff. So it is a challenge, man. Your website says that people who crush it show up and do the work day after day. And that the book is really about how to keep doing the right things when they get hard, when those things get hard, boring, unrewarding. What are the telltale signs that someone stopped paying the price, even if they outwardly still look successful?
Well, I mean, they'll know. Whatever it is, whatever their thing is, like, are you consistently getting up and doing it? Are you getting up before your family to work out? Because that's important, as you just mentioned. Are you doing the necessary work to be prepared for the day? I think, and then outwardly that will show up too. If people stop doing the actual work. So while maybe in the short term you can live with not continuing to get after it each day, longer term we'll all know, we'll all see it. It'll eventually catch up with you. It's just, again, like being prepared for a volleyball game, or being prepared for a podcast, or being prepared and doing the work writing a book. There are even more shortcuts. You mentioned losing weight. Well, we have a shortcut for that now too. We don't know the long-term ramifications of that. If you talk about the shortcuts for writing a book, you can write a book in about, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Like you can type in the correct prompts on Claude or any of the tools, and it will write a full book. It won't be good, but you could have one and it will fool some people. Some people who are not as adept at understanding what AI slop looks like will be, wow, that's impressive. So there's even more shortcuts that are coming as more days advance and more technology happens, whether it's a GLP-1 or AI tools. Even more are out there for people who are lazy and who don't want to do the work, which I view as a massive opportunity. To continuing to do the work. Like, especially think about writing. Writing is the greatest tool in the world for learning, getting the messy thoughts out of your head onto the page. And so skipping that or bypassing that and using the tool to do all of that work for you, and then getting a substandard, mediocre result that some people will be impressed with, I guess, it blows my mind that so many people are doing this. I think there are great uses of technology and AI tools to help as a research assistant, to help with a lot of things. But outsourcing your thinking to it, outsourcing the beautiful element of getting those messy thoughts and figuring out how to phrase them and put them down onto the page, that takes time and effort, and the first drafts are always garbage. Skipping all of that blows my mind. I mean, I guess it shouldn't blow my mind. It's cheaper, easier. You can get the result immediately. So maybe it shouldn't blow my mind. But to me, that's like one of the big things I'm talking about with my team and with what we're trying to do is, yeah, it's all there. Like, you can do it, you can use it, but it's funny, we're on vacation talking about icks in relationships. I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but like, that's like a major ick for me. When a human outsources their thinking, I don't want to work with them. I don't want to be around them. It bothers me so much that people would do that. Like, you're wasting such an incredible opportunity to learn and to grow and to improve, and you're just skipping it. You're going to the weight room and looking at the weights and expecting like to get strong. Like, that's not how it works. You have to lift them, right? You got to run. You got to do the box step ups, like whatever. So I think that's one of the big things that's happening right now, especially in this kind of knowledge worker world. You see the AI slop on LinkedIn everywhere, and to me, it's like I hope that stops. I don't know. I don't know what the solve is yet, other than just don't do it. But right now, it seems like we're overrun with it.
Yeah, it's that common thread of instant gratification, right?
Yep.
People are unwilling to put the work in, whether it's like we talked about, from working out all the way to investing or to building a business. They want results now. They want the end now, and they don't. And I think there's a beauty in the journey, man. As a business owner, you know, for the last 25 years, I've been in the financial services space. The last 10, I've been focused on that high net worth, tax mitigation, asset protection, liquidity planning, estate planning. And the journey that I get to see these individuals have gone through, like, very rarely, I mean, it happens, but you know, you can have a social media influencer blow up overnight, or someone gets their 15 minutes of success or fame, and then it just withers after that. But the beauty is in the journey. It's not necessarily just the destination. And that, I'm trying to instill that into my daughters, right? Because I'm fighting that instant gratification. I'm glad you brought that up. That's exactly what I've been dealing with as a dad for these last couple months. I mean,
I think, by the way, volleyball, I had one that played, she just graduated high school and played her whole life up to that moment. And one of the, I think the good things that volleyball can do for a child, as they grow up is like it involves so much losing, right? So you play best of 5, you got to win 3 sets. There's in each set you could win 25-23, which means you've lost and had to respond to losing 23 times. You may lose a couple sets and have to respond to losing a set, and it's best of 5. So to me, I think that could be a great vehicle to learn how to delay gratification, because you have to respond to losing so much, to respond to adversity, to get beaten down, to have a coach yell at you, to have disagreements with teammates, to have to rally, to have to deal with runs. But volleyball is such a game of momentum. And so I think sports, I mean, I'm biased. I'm a sports guy. I grew up and it's a big part of my family, but that doesn't mean it's not right. And so to me, like, I think that could be really helpful and beneficial for kids is dealing with losing and having to respond to losing, because as parents, we try like so hard. I feel like a lot of us do this. We try so hard to, like, we want our kids to be happy, and sometimes we do it the wrong way. We clear the path because we think it will make them happy, and it does temporarily, but longer term, they need to fall down and get themselves back up. And I think sports can be a great vehicle for that to happen for kids.
100%, man. You know, you put a recent YouTube video or content out there, why rich people aren't happier. Right. So let me ask you, where does the wealth genuinely help? Where does it completely fail to solve the deeper human problem as well?
I mean, I think you have to understand your purpose, understand your core values, understand your critical behaviors, and understand how that all flows with what you're waking up and doing every day. Certainly, what you could look at the Harvard longitudinal study that's gone on for 90 years, what leads to a fulfilling, happy life. And they came back with one answer, and it's love, full stop. And so what leads to you, I think, feeling fulfilled? I know what makes me feel fulfilled and feel really, really happy. It's just time with people that I love. Not necessarily quality time, but just time being with, like, the in-between, the car ride from the airport to the hotel and the funny things that happen there, lounging in the house on vacation, the shared breakfast, the reminiscing of what happened yesterday that was bad and or good, time with people that you love, having those loving relationships, investing in them, being super, super present, both friends, family. To me, like, that's a wealthy life. That's really what it's all about, is time with people that I love. And so what am I trying to optimize for? I'm trying to optimize for that. And I think whatever that could be, as small as an example as yesterday, I had a podcast scheduled. My youngest daughter, who's 11 now, sends me a text like, "Hey, can you take me to the pool?" I mean, I can't cancel my work all the time, but I mean, I don't want to ever say no to that. So I said, of course, I'll be home in a second. I cancel the podcast. We'll reschedule. It's all good. And we're at the pool, 30 minutes later. My wife's with us. We have friends. Like, it was a glorious night. It was awesome. It started a little bit earlier than I thought it was going to start, but hey, that's life. And some people say, hey, your kids know you got to work or whatever. It's like, yes, and I do that. But there are also those moments when you get those texts that you want to drop everything and say yes. So, like, that's what I'm optimizing for. That's how I would define a wealthy, happy life, is just time with people that I love.
100%, especially as the kids get older. Yeah. My daughter's going into sophomore and freshman year in high school, and you had one just graduate. I mean, the time is evaporating, right? And pretty soon they're gone. So good for you for cherishing and taking advantage. I mean, if you can't do things like that, what's the purpose of owning your own business? Right. I
mean, that's 100%. Yeah. I could not agree more. There are times I got to get on airplanes and give speeches and stuff like that. But anytime in between all of that, I'm trying to optimize for time with people I love. And I realize, like, I guess that could be a privileged thing to say, but I hope that, a lot of people could strive and could get there. That wasn't always that way. I'm in my 40s now. So, wasn't like that when I was in my 20s or even early 30s. It wasn't like that. So it's taken some time and effort and work to get to a place to where we can do that. But certainly that's what I'm trying to optimize for.
Well, and I would also say the fact that you put the reps in and you did the daily grind and built on the compound, it affords you the ability to do things like that from time to time. And if something is built on a non-solid foundation or on a shaky foundation, you can't necessarily do that. So that goes back to our previous point that we were talking about. One phrase of your work that really stuck with me is the difference between resume virtues and eulogy virtues. Dude, that really kind of hit hard for me. For a founder or executive who's won on the outside, they're got the vision of success externally. How do they know whether their inner score is healthy or whether they're just decorating the outer one better than the inside one?
Well, I mean, it goes back to those relationships. I was just at, that's probably been 4 or 5 months now, my grandpa Hawk, my dad's funeral, and he lived an amazing life. And, I listened to the people who were up speaking, giving those eulogies about him. And there may have been a brief mention about where he worked, by one or two of the speakers. But basically everything they talked about was how he made them feel, how he made everybody feel, how selfless he was, how giving and caring and generous. Like it was all about him as a person and how he made people feel and kind of the joy he brought to the world. And I think that's amazing. I know him as that guy, always been that guy. And to me, like, one, I feel super lucky to have had that model in my life, both my grandpa and my mom and my dad. And my parents are we're still very, very close because they're amazing models for what great leaders and a great relationship looks like. But yeah, I mean, like I actually got to hear a eulogy being read about a person I love recently. And I think that literally brings that to life. That they're not necessarily talking about whatever I don't even know the names of the places where he worked. Like it didn't really matter. It was really about how he made the people feel at work, in his community, at his church, with all of the people, his family, all of those things. So, I just think to me, it's thinking about like a leader or anybody is to think about, we do this exercise with our leaders. We have them write their eulogy. And really, it sounds like, that sounds like a dark exercise. It's actually meant to be a celebratory exercise because it's aspirational. What do you want them to say? And when you actually do the exercise, some people maybe, I doubt you're going to talk about revenue targets. I doubt you're going to talk about maybe some people, I doubt it though. Like I certainly didn't hear that recently at my grandpa's funeral, but I think what you're going to write about you're probably going to write about people. You're probably going to write about how you hopefully made people feel. And so that can be a useful exercise, is to actually write it. I think it's becoming more common now, but to write it out as an aspirational goal for what you want people to say about you and how you made them feel. And if you do it that way, and then the next step is to actually go and live that. And so I've done that. That's what we do with all the leaders we work with. And it's funny because they're like, hey, we brought you in here to help our company grow and to do all this. But we say, we think if we get you right as a human and we get you right of understanding your purpose and your values and your critical behaviors and how to live out your eulogy, we believe that will make you better as a whole leader for everything that you're going to go out and do. And you'll be better at work if you get all of that right. And again, you mentioned like being right at a foundational level. If you get that foundation right, I think you'll go blow the top off of it when it comes to work as well. But it seems counterintuitive that we're not focused on all that. We do some of that later, but we're really focused on the person and getting them right before anything else. And if we do that, everything else seems to take care of itself.
I think I know what I'm going to be doing on my next plane flight.
Have you done it? Have you written a eulogy?
No, I haven't.
You should. You'll like
it. Yeah. I'm doing it.
Good.
I'm doing it.
Good.
You recently sat down again with Jim Collins, which is amazing. Yep. And one idea from that conversation is that the biggest winners are not necessarily luckier. they get a higher return on luck, right? I thought that was interesting. If that's true, what do great leaders do differently with luck, disruption, pain, or timing that others don't?
I think one, they're good about increasing their surface area for luck. So let's make, like, what does that mean? Let's say I've been married for a while, but let's say you're not, and you want, like, that's a goal of yours. That's what you want. Do you think you'd have better odds of getting luckier of meeting that person by sitting at home, watching TV, doing whatever, playing video games? Or do you think you'd increase your surface area for luck if you just go on lots of dates, or if you go out, if you're out and about around people? Like, that's a very basic one, but you get the point of, you can't say, well, that person's just luckier than me. Well, no, they made a choice to increase the odds to get luckier. And so I think whatever it is in your life, of sometimes it's uncomfortable. Oh, I'm introverted, I don't want to do that. Well, I mean, this is what it takes. So what can you do? And so to me, the way I try to do this is I'm trying to constantly do stuff that adds value to other people's lives. And I hope a lot of it's for free. So podcast is probably the best example of that. It's free, right? Now, you are investing your most valuable resource, your time. But
Time.
I interviewed people. I try to be overly prepared and treat my guests very, very well with respect. Try to be a good listener, ask good follow-up questions, and then we produce those episodes and put that out. I've been doing it for 11 years and published every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern with no misses, right? Consistency is how you build trust. Well, if I do that, it's just weird how it just has increased my opportunity to get luckier, basically, when it comes to meeting people. Like, every opportunity in your life, every single one of them comes through a person, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So what can you do to increase the odds that a person will come to you, or increase the odds that a person will want to talk to you, or want to potentially work with you or partner with you on something? And so I've gotten a lot luckier as I've produced useful and valuable work that helps other people. Just seemed to got a lot luckier since then. Well, I'm trying to increase my surface area for luck. So I just think it's always about thinking, what are you doing? This is a great prompt to ask yourself at the end of every day before you're going to bed. What did I do today to add value to someone's life? Anybody. And if you answer that in the affirmative, like, I did this for my wife, right? I made her life better by doing that, whatever. Or I met this person and made their life better. And you answer that every single day. Let's do it for like a week, then do it for a month, then do it for a year. And every day you're thinking about how you added value with no ask in return. Absolutely no ask. This is purely
no agenda
focused. Absolutely not, right? And you answered that question every day for a year. And maybe you miss a few days here and there. We're all humans. We're messy, right? But let's say you get it right most of the time and you're adding value. I have a hunch you're going to be so much luckier than you were the year before. Just a guess. And so, yeah, I'm just trying to think about what can we do to actually create some of that luck. And yes, there are some things that are just flat out lucky that you had nothing to do with, like certainly like where I was born, to whom I was born to, my brothers, all of that stuff. Pure luck, didn't do anything to deserve any of that. But with that, it's now let me try to make the most of that, and how am I adding value to others? And the more I add value to others, it seems like I just get luckier. I don't know. What do you think about that? Because like Jim and I kind of disagreed at times when it comes to that. What do you think when it comes to luck?
Well, it reminds me of the saying, luck is where preparation meets opportunity, right? And then I think, well, what is preparation? And whether it's, let's use that dating analogy, right? If I've put the work in to build the beginnings of a successful business, life, career, whatever, that took a lot of preparation. If I've taken care of my body and I've put the work in to exercise, and do that, that's taken preparation. If I've, learned how to communicate with people and not stare into my phone and have conversations, like you said, actively listen, ask good questions, carry on a conversation. Those are the preparatory tools needed, right? To be that kind of person. And then, like you said, creating the surface area for opportunity. Now, I've done all that work. If I sit at home, no one's going to find me. Right. I mean, I guess with an app you can, right? But if I'm going to go out and be seen and be in a groups of people and give myself the chance where they look at all that other hard work I've put in, I'm meshing the luck definition of preparation and opportunity coming together. So yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. And it's hard because I think from a business standpoint right now, like putting the work in, this goes back to the very beginning, what we talked about, right? Doing the grind, doing the daily things that need to be done to be quote unquote successful gives me an opportunity when that chance presents itself to capitalize on it. And if I haven't done those things, that I may never even recognize the opportunity coming across my plate, right? So yeah, I tend to agree with that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's also just a good ethos for life. Again, going back to prompts, Charlie Munger, what did I do today to go to bed a little bit wiser than I was when I woke up? I think that's a good prompt. 2, what did I do today to add value to someone else's life? And you are able to answer those every single day, that you actively and intentionally did something to go to bed wiser than you were when you woke up, and that you actively and intentionally added value to someone's life. If you do that every day and watch the power of compounding happen, good relationships, good opportunities, just watch what happens. I think the problem is too many of us, and we've probably all had chapters where we were this person, too many of us are just existing. We're in zombie land, getting through the day because it's hard and we're tired, right? And again, I realize like we've all probably had times where that's happened, but getting more intentional, just creating a few prompts, like thinking about it. And the cool thing about having prompts like that, to me, I'm a prompt-driven writer and a prompt-driven thinker, meaning I actually have, when I'm writing a book, my research assistant send me a list of questions in email, and sometimes I will respond to the questions actually in the body of the email, and then we'll copy and paste my answers into the draft of the book because I just like prompts. And so think of it's easier just to answer a question than to have to like look at a blank page. Same thing with these prompts to ask yourself at the end of each day. It's not like, hey, open free journaling, which again probably could be beneficial too, but I'm thinking just answer a couple of questions every day. Those questions will work as a forcing function to get you to actually actively look for opportunities to go to bed a little bit wiser and opportunities to help somebody else. And if you just keep doing that, again, I like your chances of getting luckier, of good things happening to you, of opportunities coming your way. And I think that's it's really quite simple. It's just harder to execute on it every day, day after day.
Well, yeah, it's not sexy, right? And it makes me think of the 5 F's that I think about on a daily basis: faith, family, fun, fitness, and finance, right? If I can touch one of those F's every day, then I feel like I had a pretty good day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
I love that. I love it. Do you have like a journaling process, or what do you do?
I do, man. In fact, I have, people make fun of me because I still have, this is my UNCC one right here.
Oh, that's sweet.
But inside of it, I mean, I've got, in my office right here, you can't see, I've got volumes of journals that I've been doing for years, and it's not every day. And I'll put anything that comes into my mind, whether it's me actually pouring my thoughts and feelings onto the page, or me writing down business notes or ideas, thoughts, concerns that come in there, and I reference back to it. I'll scribble on there. I'll brainstorm on there. And, you know, you and I think we're pretty close to the same age. You know, I've got one of these new remarkable tablets where I can write on it, and it's digital and it feels like paper, but you know, it stores it in a PDF. Nothing replaces really paper and pen for me. Like it's cathartic for me to actually put paper and pen together. So
yeah, I was going to say, do you have is it just open free writing, or what is it?
Yeah, it's open. It's open
Nice.
free. And so whatever's on my mind at the time, whatever I'm focusing on, whatever, enlightenment or goal or stress or anxiety that I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can bring it around to back to those 5 F's, faith, family, fun, fitness, finance. And I know that I did my part to be genuinely present. Now I have really bad days, right? Like you said, we're messy. We're humans.
Sure.
But if I can be present in that moment, then I feel like I went to bed and I gave it my all that day. I give you an example. Last night, my wife is on her path to becoming a black belt in jiu-jitsu. She's an animal when it comes to that. And my daughters see that journey. Talk about stacking up the grind, right?
Yeah.
Day after day after day going through the process. And it takes years to get there. Well, last night I'm home with the girls and I hadn't seen them all day. I'm like, hey, come down and talk to me because I was about to eat some dinner. We started playing a board game, right?
Mm-hmm.
This silly board game. And I didn't care about the board game. What was cool is they were both there. I had my 2 teenage daughters there with me in the moment, no phones. It was pretty cool. My wife came home from her jiu-jitsu class and the look on her face gave her joy to see that we were doing it. And she then sat down right next to us for a little bit. So it's just those little moments like what you talked about, you taking your daughter to the pool makes all the difference in the world. But if I'm not present about that needing to be one of my 5 F's, right, for the day, then maybe I'm like, I'm too busy or, the basketball game's on. I want to go watch the basketball game or, whatever. Right. But those are the moments that build over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the juice, man. That's really what it's all about. Like you're living in the good old days right now. And we say that all the time. Like these are the good old days. I know that comes from the office. Like it would be good to know if you were living in the good old days, like when you were actually doing it. Well, we are like right now. And so let's make the absolute most of all of it. We're in it. And, I just think that's a more enjoyable mentality. Like that doesn't mean the days aren't hard at times or stuff happens, but, it's trying to like just, I think honoring the present and that's super important to do.
Very cool. Tony Robbins told you that your job is to become more valuable, that public rewards reflect private practice, kind of what we've been talking about this whole time, and that preparation creates certainty. In your language now, is that basically the core of becoming, like you talk about?
Yeah, I mean, again, back to the prompt of what did I do today to add value to somebody's life? What did I do to help somebody? I think if you just that's becoming more valuable. I mean, I had a really good lesson of this when I was 19 years old in college, and to have a head coach. So I've been the starting whatever quarterback, point guard, shortstop, pitcher on every team I had been on in my life. And I go to college and highly recruited guy. There's another highly recruited guy in our sophomore year. We're both playing and battling out for this quarterback job. And to have your head coach sit you down and look you right in your eye and say, this other guy gives us a better chance to win than you do. I mean, talk about a humbling moment of somebody putting you in their place. But the way I think about that now and why it's so helpful is that other person added value to our team or added more value to our team, gave us a better chance to win than I did. And so I take that to every single relationship, to every single interaction with a client, to every single podcast. I will never, ever forget that comment to me. And so I use it as fuel, as you have to be adding value. Or Tony Robbins in the Jim Rohn voice of, you have to be becoming more valuable to other people to help them. And the second that you're not, again, this may sound harsh, but the second that you're not adding value, the second that you're not valuable to them, I do not expect them to want or need me in their life. And that includes my wife. And yes, we've made vows and all that stuff, but the way that I choose to approach it is, what am I doing today to make her life better, to add value? And she is the opposite of the type of person that would expect anything like that. As tough and gritty as it gets, knows people have rough days. But that makes me want to do it even more, because she doesn't have that expectation of me. But whether it's that relationship or any other relationship, work-wise, personal life, if I'm not constantly and consistently adding value to your life, then I don't expect to be in your life. And that started because I had like a very, very devastating moment when I was young. and I needed it, and I'm grateful for it, and I think it's helped me with everything else that I do since then. And it also probably increases surface area for luck if you're constantly thinking about what are you doing to add value to people's lives and becoming more valuable, and doing that, I think has served me well. And I think if I ever stopped, then that would be the opposite of becoming, right? That would be like I've arrived. Well, that does not exist. There is no sense of arrival ever, no matter what. No matter what. There's no arrival. It's an always becoming mindset.
100%, man. I agree with that. And I've always, not always, recently, for as long as I can remember, I've tried to add as much value for people that I newly meet or people that have been friends or family as much as I possibly can. And my wife will ask me sometimes, well, why do you do that? Why do you make these connections? Why do you say you know a guy and you do this and you do that? And because I'm being known as like, if you need something, call J-Mac, because J-Mac knows a guy that knows a guy, right? To make those connections.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because one, it's good for them, but it actually makes me feel good. And I don't do it as a transaction where I'm expecting them to give something back to me. I get fulfillment by being that valuable person for them. Yep. And I know the law of reciprocity, something will come back, or maybe you say it's the surface area for opportunity or luck being created, but it just feels good to do good for people.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I 100% agree. The giver seems to get the reward more than the receiver. I feel that. I'm with you, man. And it's just a more fun way to go about like connecting people is such a cool thing to do. I mean, especially with, as a podcast host, sometimes you'll have two guests who are, this happens frequently where they're admirers of each other's work, but they have never met. And so now you get to be the person to make that introduction. It's the coolest thing to be a part of that. Even if now at that point you kind of eject and remove yourself, let them do their thing. I don't know. To me, that there's no expectation of anything for me after that. It's just really about like, it just feels good and it's fun to help people connect.
Ryan, I want to make a transition here that I think it's still a leadership question, but it's not a sales question. So in my world, as I've mentioned, I spend time with founders, entrepreneurs, executives whose businesses have worked, their wealth has compounded, to your word. And now the bigger issue is not just growth, it's structure, liquidity, succession, tax drag, estate equalization, key person risk. And I've come to believe that those are really stewardship questions. Does that framing resonate with you if we frame that as stewardship?
Well, I think that's more your world. So I'm not even sure I understand some of those words. I'm lucky to have a financial team that helps with all of that stuff, that I trust completely. And my dad helps with that as well. So, yeah, I mean, that sounds good. Stewardship sounds like a great way to lead, a great way to serve others, a great way to just a great ethos as a way to live life, for sure.
Well, let me ask it this way. When someone says, Ryan, I care about legacy, how do you know whether they mean it beyond just saying the words? Like, how do they prove they care about legacy?
I don't know. I guess I don't really think about legacy because no one's going to remember me anyway. So, I mean, I want my kids to, I want to serve them and to help them and to do everything I can to be present with them. But legacy is not really, I don't know. It's just not something that I really think about very much because nobody's going to remember anybody. So I just don't know if that really matters to me. I want to be present for what's happening now and how I'm living for the sake of that, not for the sake of anything else that I'm not going to know about afterwards. So yeah, I don't know if they're living for legacy. It's just like, I don't know, maybe you're like pretty self-centered because nobody's going to remember you anyway. So I'm not sure that I would Yeah, I guess I don't know if I have a good answer because it's not something that I think about very much.
No, it's not a right or wrong answer. It's just, how do you feel about it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
And personally, and only if you're open to talking about it, you've got your team, you've got your dad. Do you feel like your own planning around family, your business enterprise, your future optionality is already integrated? Are y'all thinking about that? Or are there still loops that you're thinking about?
How would you define integrated? What do you mean?
Is it in y'all's conversation? Is it in your planning goals? Are you thinking about how all of it intertwines together, or is it very segregated?
I guess I still don't understand the question.
All right. What I'm trying to understand is, you mentioned legacy, and you took it to where people aren't going to remember you anyway. But you have your children, you have your future grandchildren, they have their future children, right?
Yep.
Are you thinking about, are you guys talking about, are you structuring things in a way where you're creating generational legacy, not just financially, not just dollars, but your values, your beliefs, your family vision statement, mission statement, things like that?
Yeah. I think that could be really useful. Those are certainly conversations we've had. My family knows that I care about them being curious, tough, and grateful. And there are a lot of sub bullets that go along with the importance of being curious, tough, and grateful. And I think if you're interested in others, that leads to an interesting life. I think if you're tough and resilient and you can bounce back to the inevitable adversity you're going to face, that you'll be better suited. My wife and I really try to model that ourselves. And then I think if you live a life full of gratitude and being thankful for all of the cool things that, like opportunities that we have and what we get to do and what we were born into, and we try our best to make the most of that. I think if you've been given a lot, you need to give even more. And that's how I try to show gratitude. But that's really, the words are important, but I think the actions are far more important, especially with kids, because they don't necessarily listen, but they're very, very observant. They understand, they see what we're doing, especially as they get older. And to me, like the most important job that I feel like I have, that I don't really view as a job, but just view as like my life's calling, is to be the model of that. First and foremost, as to be the model of a high character, loving husband, because especially you're a dad with daughters too, like they're watching carefully of how their mom is treated. With respect, with love. We make them cringe constantly, right? With the overdoing it of that stuff because it's fun. Like, why not? So yeah, I think what am I focused on the most? What are we focused on the most? Is just being the model for that, being the model of people who are really, really curious and care about people, being the model of people who work really, really, really hard, who are resilient and gritty and tough, and then being very, very thankful for what we have and the fact that we've been given a ton and we need to give even more. We need to leave the place better than we found it. That's what I hope that they're seeing. We get little glimpses of it in the love notes they write us from time to time, that seems to be resonating. Again, it's not perfect. We have very messy days just like everybody else, but yeah, that's what I'm hopeful for. When it comes to finances and all that, my financial people know that money, they're just fun tokens. We are working hard to make money to create fun experiences. We went to Baja Mar last week as a family of 7. That takes a lot of fun tokens to do that. And that was just to create cool experiences as a family. This is why we work hard. We use those phrases. This is why we work hard to create fun tokens for our family to do cool things together. Doesn't mean you have to go to Baja Mar or the Bahamas. That's just one example of us cashing in some fun tokens. So yeah, I think money plays a role. It can be helpful to create cool experiences and rent jet skis and go down water slides. But what was actually like the most fun parts of that trip is that we passed around cards and asked questions at dinner and afterwards, and that we walked together, that we made fun of each other, especially me. I mean, that's really the juice of all that. The place and the trip just kind of created the container for that stuff to happen. So, yeah, I don't know if that properly answers the question, but I think that's what we're trying to do. And we mess it up constantly every day, but trying our best to kind of live that out. And hopefully that resonates with them as they keep going, and especially as the older ones are getting out into the world now and they got to figure it out on their own. We want them to have good models to at least draw from and normalize those behaviors of being curious, tough, and grateful.
I love it, man. Well, to that point of adding value for people, if it's ever useful to compare notes offline on that architectural side of what that might look like, I'm super happy to do so. No agenda beyond just being useful and valuable for you. For
that's awesome.
Worth.
What do you do?
So I work with business owners at the crossroads of tax planning, asset protection, estate planning, and liquidity planning. And the estate planning component is, we're talking about those fund tokens, right? That you talk about how to keep more of those fund tokens and mitigating the taxes that you pay to the federal government on an annual basis, through trust structures and LLC structures and things of that nature, but then creating generational, wealth, right? From one generation to the next. And most people think that that's just dollars, or in your words, fund tokens. The largest part of that is putting the trust structure in place where you get to put your values into the document so that in the event you die way too soon, you've got not just the memories that you've left them, but you've got your family governance in place on how you want them to use those fund tokens. I love that. How philanthropic you want them to be, how they can, as an example, I had a gentleman on the other day and he's like, man, I'm concerned. I don't want to create trust fund babies or trust fund kids for either my kids or grandkids. And I'm like, great. Because one of the things that you can do in a trust, if you were not here to help administer those distributions, you can say that all your future heirs can take a distribution from the trust equal to their W-2 income or their 1099 income or their K-1 income. So they actually have to do work and create an income before they can take any money out to prevent them from being trust fund babies, right? And then you can say you get a certain amount for a down payment of a house. You get a certain amount for a car. You can put an educational fund in place for the family. But it's all based around your feelings, your desires, your philosophy, your values that you and your wife have for your family. But you're thinking generationally from that perspective. And the byproduct is it creates asset protection and it creates tax mitigation, true tax mitigation strategies, because one of the biggest leakage points in creating wealth is taxes paid on an annual basis, right? Yep. So again, we can talk about that offline if you're open to it. Happy to
curious.
Have a conversation.
I think that's really cool. I'm curious. What do you think of? Have you read Bill Perkins' book "Die with Zero"?
No. What's the premise of it?
Well, I mean, we can't predict when we're going to die, but so he uses a cheeky title that helps sell a lot of books. But basically, his argument, and it's more complex, is he wants to die with $0. Now he has like $100 million or $500 million. He wants to die with $0 in the bank, meaning use the money for while he's alive, whether it's to create amazing experiences, and he's like a world traveler, he has kids, all this stuff, with his family, with his loved ones, give it to them while he's still alive so he can see them use it, but essentially use it now, go on the trips when you can still hike right now, do the best you can. It's easier to say this when you have a lot of it, I guess, but his whole mentality is, I don't want it just to be transferred once I'm gone. I want to see it happening right now. And so I think there's a whole nother conversation to have about what happens if you give kids too much money when they're young. I'm very grateful that my parents did not and still don't do that. I think we could probably handle it now that we've done better. And so it would just be kind of additive. But But if I was 25 or even 30 when I wasn't making really any money, I think that would have really gotten in the way of my growth. I don't know. You've probably, since you have so much experience with families, you probably have way more anecdotal evidence of this. But to me, I think I'm so grateful that we didn't, like, we'd get, maybe a couple $100 for Christmas, and that's kind of, and your birthday maybe, and that's it. But I think it could have stunted growth to get way too much too early when you're less mature and you don't have any money. So it would make a giant difference in your life. I don't know. What do you think?
I think a lot about that. In fact, back to that book, Die with Zero. I like the premise of the book, right? And I don't disagree that I think wealth, uncommon wealth, as the title of this podcast, is not about dollars or fun tokens that you said and how much you keep but when you die. It's really about the memories that you've created with your family and your loved ones. And like you said, it takes fun tokens to create those memories. I also think we have a duty to be philanthropic to a certain extent, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With whatever your charity of choice or your mission of choice is, we have a duty to be philanthropic. In fact, I think we need to teach our children on what it means to be philanthropic, not just with money, but with time and serving and, things of that nature. So I agree with that concept 100%. But the financial advisor, the recovering financial advisor in me would say, but there is still a tax efficient way on how to do that, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's still a way to do that where you're not wasting tax dollars going to the federal government or the state government when they've repeatedly proven to us that they are not good stewards of our money, right? So in that stewardship concept, there's ways that we can minimize the tax drag, but still be as giving, caring, charitable as we want to be and have as much fun as we want to be with our kids. And to your second point, yeah, man, I've seen kids get way too much money, way too young, and completely waste it. And it's a shame. It ruins their lives. It ruins their family. It ruins everyone. And so giving controlled access at certain ages to teach the value of money, to teach the value of hard work, to teach your values, your family values to your children or grandchildren, I think is paramount in the success of a family. I mean, there's two great examples when you look at this, the Rockefeller family and the Vanderbilt family, right? I don't know if you know those two stories, but the Rockefeller family still has more 100 millionaires and billionaires than any other family in the world right now. And then you've got the Vanderbilts who just have a name because they wasted all that wealth in just a couple generations. And it's because of the lack of family governance that the Vanderbilts had. And it's because of the family governance that the Rockefellers have. And so it's putting things in place like that. It's a much bigger conversation than just stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. So I want to close where your work keeps pointing us. You've written and spoken about the score that matters, about values, alignment, family flourishing, and about becoming the kind of person who can carry bigger responsibility. At the end of all this, books, keynotes, clients, conversations, podcasts, what do you hope your kids or your closest collaborators will say was the score that mattered in how you, Ryan, lived?
Left people, places, and things better than I found them, consistently every day. Made the most of the lucky situation I was born into, made people feel like seen and heard and that I actually cared because I do. I hope that's what people, currently say and would say in the future. I have an event producer who comes to my one, I do one event a year with my members of my learning leader circle. And so there's 43 people there this year. And, she came up to me at the end of the event and said, I've had one-on-one conversations with almost everybody here. And, one of the things that is just interesting that I think you should know is that, like, it feels like every person here seems to have like a very close personal relationship with you. whatever that is, I would bottle it up and keep doing that. And so I think the way that happens is just to be present with all of those people and those conversations and those relationships, and genuinely care and be curious about them, so that every person has that feeling that you have like a very close relationship, because that's what I want to do. And that's just more enjoyable way to live. So hopefully that's what people say and will continue to say.
And for the founder listening right now, the one who's building super fast, winning publicly, and postponing the hard questions, what's the one question they should stop delaying right now?
I mean, if they have a family, I would just be like, how like actually present are you with them? Not present, but like actually present when you're with them. I think that's just super important, is to show your kids, show your wife that you're there, you care about them genuinely, deeply, you're curious about them, you listen to them, and you're fully present in the moment. We all mess that up, especially with phones, but just being much more intentional about that, I think that's what I would focus on. That's what I try to focus on and try to be good at. And again, certainly mess it up all the time, but I'm actively thinking about that with all of these interactions, and how I'm trying to kind of optimize for that, because that's ultimately like that's what's most important to me.
I love it. Ryan, bro, this was outstanding. Everyone, follow Ryan Hawk's work at The Learning Leader. Subscribe to Mindful Monday, and keep an eye out for The Price of Becoming, which is scheduled for July 21, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Ryan?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
All right. Thanks, Bo. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.